mindful communication isn't just about being more aware of how you respond to someone, but it's being more present with what they're saying, noticing not just the words that they're saying, but what they're saying with their body language and how you're responding to them, how you're talking over top of them, how you're leading the conversation, how you're responding to the topics that they're bringing up. And I think that this is really important because I've been thinking about it a lot since starting my podcast, and my podcast is about a lot of mindfulness. And when talking in my podcast, I am noticing that I'm filling my words or my conversation with a lot of filler words, that sort of thing. And I think that part of the reason that we use so many filler words in our conversations today is because we are so used to having to fill all of the gaps in the conversation with something so that someone doesn't end up taking the proverbial talking stick and talking over top of us, or not necessarily even talking over top of us, but talking over top of the moment of silence that we're using to collect ourselves. So instead of using that moment of silence to collect ourselves, we fill it with something to kind of portray the fact that we're not finished talking. And I think that we need to be more mindful in our communication with others so that we allow there to be a little bit more silence there, because that silence I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I think that we should be allowed to take a moment to collect ourselves during conversation. So some of the benefits that you may experience with mindful communication is having better connections with the people that you're talking to. When someone has your undivided attention, when you're very clearly listening to them, when you're responding to them in a way that they need, and when you're fully present, which I may have already said, it will foster a deeper connection with that person. It will foster deeper communication. It will have more patience, more trust, more understanding. In that same sense, you'll have less misunderstandings as well, because if you're fully present and you're really paying attention and you're kind of making sure that what you understand what they're saying and kind of saying things back to them in your own words so that you know that it has been a clear communication, that will reduce the number of misunderstandings that you have with that person. And you'll also have more empathy for them if you're fully paying attention to their situation, their backstory, everything that goes into it. More empathy will be able to be brought into that conversation, and more empathy on both sides, because when someone feels heard, they're more likely to listen as well. So active listening, I think, is one of the main things that we need to foster when trying to have mindful communication. So really being present when someone is talking to you and not just thinking about what you're going to say next, but instead just listening to what they're saying instead of creating your response before they're even finished talking. And then listening without interrupting. So I find that often we'll interrupt when we feel that we're not being heard, when we are not being listened to, or when we're just really excited about something. So trying to be aware of interrupting other people and why you feel the need to interrupt other people, and trying to keep it at a minimum. I know I'm not saying never ever interrupt someone. Obviously, occasionally you're going to get really worked up and really want to, whether it's out of joy or anger or just passion about something. But try to minimize the amount that you interrupt someone, because it kind of squashes the feeling that everyone should be heard and everyone should be seen and that everyone has something valuable to bring to the conversation when you're constantly interrupting them. And oftentimes when you interrupt someone, maybe they were going to already clarify the thing that you are about to say. So just allow them to say what they're going to say first. And then use reflective listening. So when you don't understand something, or when you're not sure that you understand something, or even if you think that you understand it, but it was kind of vague, just repeating back to someone what they said to you in your own words to make sure that there are no misunderstandings there at all. I really think that we should try to, as much as possible, reduce filler words. I am trying to reduce filler words in my own conversation and in my own speaking, and I think that we collectively should try to reduce filler words as much as we can, simply because they don't offer any substance, and we can replace them with silence, and I think that silence should be okay. So try to, as much as possible, not fill your entire soliloquy with all words, but instead take a moment to reflect and allow yourself to say the thing that you want to say instead of just rambling on and on. And try not to interrupt someone as soon as they have a moment of silence, and instead let them fill that. I feel like you'll know the more that you talk to someone when they're finished compared to when they're just taking a moment of silence. And when you have someone in your life that you know takes those moments of silence, like my partner takes a long time to say what he's trying to say and will take a lot of moments of silence. And I understand when he's taking a moment of silence, but sometimes when I'm a little bit worked up about something, I won't respect that moment of silence. So as much as possible, trying to respect the moments of silence, especially when you notice them. Try to speak a little bit slower. I know that we live in a very fast-paced world, and especially with the advent of short-form video content, we really like things to be very concise and given to us in the slowest amount of time, or the fastest amount of time possible, and we'll decide really quickly whether we want to actually interact with something. And I don't think that should 100% come into a regular conversation. Obviously, you're not just slowing down just to slow down, but take the time to think through what you want to say and to put together thoughts. It's okay to take a little bit more time and actually think about what you want to say instead of just regurgitating what you hear elsewhere just to say something as quickly as possible. Allow yourself to think. Allow yourself to have longer conversations. Not everything needs to be a speed run of what we're doing. We're allowed to take the time, and I think that slowing down and taking the time and being intentional with our words and our thoughts and our processes, we can have more interesting conversations that way. Don't, again, do it needlessly. Like, you don't have to say something to someone like, would you take out the garbage? Like, you don't have to really think about that, but if you're having a conversation with someone that you could put a little bit more thought into, feel free to put a little bit more thought into that, and then maybe communicate to that to the other person that you want to slow down, sit with your thoughts a little bit more, and communicate a little bit more slowly so that they understand what's happening. And then this is something that I had to learn mostly, and I guess we all kind of learn it to a degree. There's a little bit of innate knowing, but paying attention to someone's body language, I think, is really important in a conversation. I think that people communicate a lot of what they're trying to say with their tone, with their words, obviously, with their body language, with a whole host of things. So if you're inquiring about things, you're asking someone, you're trying to get to know someone, and they're like constantly trying to close themselves off, be aware of that and maybe like back off a little bit. If someone is like moving away from you or whatever, just be more aware of the body language that other people are portraying, because sometimes it can be difficult to set boundaries with your words, which is definitely something that we should work on if that's something that we have trouble with. But people are often setting boundaries with their body language, so try to be more aware of that and notice that and respond to that, because that's something that I find is very difficult to do. If you are the type of person that always brings the conversation back to yourself, which is something that I find a lot of us are guilty of, if you will, try to be aware of that and try to ask more questions, ask more open-ended questions, ask about someone else, ask how they're doing, ask about their life. Try not to just let everything come back to yourself. I know that it's very easy to kind of take what someone's saying and go, oh yeah, I experienced something similar to that too. But maybe they just want to work through their own thing, and it's nice to inject your own opinion and your own experiences into that. But if you're doing that all the time, that can seem kind of selfish. So just be aware of how much you're doing that in a conversation. Just validate the way that other people are feeling. Oftentimes in mindful communication, we're so quickly to just try to fix everyone's problems. And instead of just immediately trying to fix someone's problems, inquire about whether they want their problems fixed or they just want their feelings validated. And this is something that my partner and I have started doing. Instead of just immediately trying to fix a problem, I'll ask if he wants a solution or if he wants just validation. And that can be a really quick, easy thing to do and help someone understand what they're looking for, and then help you give them what they need in that conversation. If you enjoyed this video, I have a 4-day free mindfulness course where every day there'll be a guided meditation, a mindfulness practice, and a journal prompt, and then there's a special bonus in there as well. It's completely free. You can sign up in the link below, or I also have a membership platform, and every week I put out a new guided meditation, a new yoga class, and a new journal prompt. So if you are interested in that, it's $10 a month. You have access to the full library that's already out there. And again, that's in the link below. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I hope that you appreciate yourself. Have a beautiful day.